Welcome back to the ONLE Networking Show, news, education and member spotlights from ONLE Networking. I'm James West.
And I'm Kelly West, and we are the co-founders of ONLE Networking, the business network for people who like people.
That's us.
That is us. Yeah.
Welcome back. So we've got a lot coming up. We're going to be talking about how to stand out at online networking events. Good topic. Yeah. We're going to go around the network. We're going to talk about barriers to business growth, which should be helpful for you watching this. And then we've got Pierre Bauzee, Beyond Satisfaction. You interviewed him, didn't you?
I did, yeah. And lots of people will be jealous.
Customer satisfaction, important topic. So let's start off by mentioning our wonderful sponsor. This is cool. Mayflower Theatre in Southampton, so live entertainment venue. You've probably heard of it, and they attract about 500,000 visitors a year. This is what you probably don't think about, £70 million to the local economy contribution, but they're also deeply entrenched in with the business community. So corporate events, event room hire, you can do sort of team events there using the venue, and there's also business sponsorship, business membership opportunities. There's a link, or a couple of links actually, going to appear on the screen like that. Have a look, check them out, they're amazing. Mayflower Theatre, thanks guys. So our topic for today, how to stand out while online networking. This is one of those things that's changing all the time, isn't it? I think there's a perception that online it's harder to stand out.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where we're evolving, isn't it? We were used to in-room networking. You can do certain things and what you're wearing, and there's a different impact, but doesn't mean that you can't stand out online.
For the right reasons. Standing out for the right reasons.
Well, we'll talk about some of the negatives, but there are loads of advantages, isn't there? I mean, we've noticed it for when we do rarely any kind of face-to-face stuff now. Just that convention of who are you? Well, there's two things, isn't there? I haven't even, you're trying to look at the name badge if it's a networking event. If it's not, if they don't have a name badge, there's a lot of small talk and sort of nonsense spoken, isn't there? Because you're trying to get the conversation rolling, whereas online you've got their name, you've got their business name. If they've put it in the Zoom window, there's a tip, put your business name, helps. It's actually easier, don't you think?
It is, and we're biased, we run an online network, but I think if you're not open to where online networking can take you, I think you're massively missing out, and I've been having a lot of conversations about this week alone. That is the future. Boundaries are limitless when you go online, so unless you're a plumber that only serves the local vicinity, then of course probably online's not going to be the right thing for you. But if you are a business that can, as we always talk about, network across borders, as we've got here with the Lego, you are really missing out on those opportunities. So I think it's about thinking about the environment that you put yourself in. And actually this does apply to in-person networking as well, and it's working out how to stand out for the right reasons. It's sometimes easier to talk about the wrong reasons. So maybe an example would be, I did a call recently, not one of ours, thankfully, did a call recently, but over half of the attendees had their video off.
Yeah.
Awkward. Okay, so I get it. I understand that there will be scenarios where you'd need to turn your video off. We don't encourage that in ONLE, and actually...
I don't think we ever have anyone, unless there's a technical hitch.
Very rarely. Possibly if a door rings or you're going to grab a drink or something, that's going to happen, isn't it? But think about how that makes you look as an attendee if you can't give just that little bit of respect to somebody to show that you are actually there. I think that's huge, and that would be the equivalent of going to an in-person networking meeting and standing in the hallway and just kind of listening in from the outskirts. You wouldn't do it, so don't do it in that environment. I'd suggest if you're at a space where you're going to networking and you can't put your video on, don't go to the meeting. Well,
it is a good point. Didn't they say at the end, can you just turn your video on so we can take a picture? And they all did, which meant it wasn't because of the circumstances. They just didn't want their video on. You're saying, I don't really want to engage. You might as well just watch the recording.
Yeah, and always take away a positive from that. We don't know what's going on in people's lives or in it at that moment, but I think if you are somebody that struggles to have your video on, if introverts possibly would fall into that category, get some help, reach out to us, or there's plenty of people within the network that can help with that. But I think just think about how that appears to other people in the room. Equally, you sort of gave that tip of putting your name in the Zoom window. Think about your background as well. We talk about this a lot, but it's always good to remind people that a blurred background is absolutely fine if you've got lots of stuff behind you that you don't want people to see, but I think don't miss out on an opportunity that background, if you struggle with instigating conversations, is a real good conversation starter. So my background, there's lots of books, there's lots of pictures, there's lots of things in the background that actually quite often people will pick up on and ask me questions, and I know that quite often that will happen because they're not sure what to ask me
It's just
next.
an icebreaker introduction, isn't it?
Icebreaker, yeah, definitely. Props, things that you can show people. If you're a merchandiser, then have some of that stuff around so that you can show. So I think it's just about going back to basics and thinking about the real, what can I do to really stand out in this space? But also, the obvious one, smile. Be welcoming to people, listen to people. We always talk about, if you're over here on a video and you're not listening to this person. I was actually on a call with somebody the other day and she said, it is going to look like I'm not listening to you, but I'm writing notes and I've got to do it on this screen. Perfect, fine, you've told me, I understand it, I don't feel awkward. So it's about setting the scene in that environment as well, isn't it?
Well, let's go through what you shouldn't do, because that bit's easier. So not listening when others are speaking. It does amaze me still that people seem to forget that, particularly on Zoom, we're all visible at all times. So, the person that's animated when it's their time to speak, and then they're over here. And you can tell when someone's writing notes, because they'll still react, they'll still nod, they'll still smile at the points when everyone else is smiling. So don't feel like you've got to stare into the camera. But it's just telling people, if you're over there, that you're there not to listen, you're there to broadcast, and that's not networking, is it? You can do that on social media and shout as loud as you want. No one listens. But anyway, so don't do that. Selling at everyone you meet. I think is that worse online? People just, let's not bother with the social conventions. Let's just get to the point to see if you want to buy my stuff.
I think probably we went through a phase of that, but I think that's dropped off now.
Yeah, I was going to say, as I was saying it.
Now the world has settled and, people have got a preference in person or online. The good ones will do both. I think that salesperson tactic lends itself more to in-person. I'm being quite generalised there. I think it works better because you can grab people and you can dominate a conversation. So I think we've seen that go. You're always going to get visitors come along that maybe will go to that space, but I don't see that as a problem as much anymore.
Someone asked us this on a webinar, didn't they, where we were talking about networking. They said, how do you get away from the person that won't stop talking? And that's they were talking more specifically about in person, because that happened all the time, didn't it? When you get that real pushy person, they're like, how do I get away? How do I get away? It's really hard to do that online, because the Zoom calls are generally shorter, or the breakout rooms, we have 10 minutes, you can't do it. So it wasn't a very good answer, was it? But I sort of said, that's why online's so good, because people don't bother, because you can't do it. You'll just leave.
Yeah, exactly. You can always pretend the Wi-Fi's dropped if it's really bad.
It's always a good trick. The other thing that I've written as well is to be memorable online. This is a sort of negative to answer in positive. Don't be boring. I am amazed at the moment. I think people, particularly because online's relaxed, maybe you're at home office, whatever it might be, you've still got to know what you're going to say. I don't think we're preparing enough.
Possibly.
And if you're not prepared, if you're just going to freestyle what you're saying, you've got to be really good. That's hard to do. So don't read a script, but I think you're better off just going, this is what I do, this is who it's for, even if you say the same thing every time and then tweak it as you go along. But the worst crime is to just, I don't really know what I'm saying, so I'm going to sort of list everything. You must have been bored senseless.
Why? Is that what I
Not
do?
you, but by people doing it to you.
No, I'm unusual. I find people fascinating. I hear what you're saying, and I think that's just nerves, and I think I can spot that. I think.
But you're all right. You're probably about it. Most people aren't that forgiving.
They're
if you're
not,
going to
no.
waffle on, my brain's going to stop listening.
But I think we all owe those people and ourselves something by being brave enough to say something to that person, because that person's just going to keep doing the same thing. And I think there is a way of saying, oh, can I just stop you there? Sorry, I'm saying this because I want to help you. You've said too much, you've lost me, just give me the basics, give me the basics. And I think if we did
That's
that more with our networking peers, actually that would be really helpful. We always talk about ONLE and, you know, other networks alike. You build such good friendships with people, you should feel comfortable enough to be able to point out if there is something a little bit wrong with what that person's doing. Wrong is the wrong word. If you think you can add value to that person, you can help them. I definitely think that try and do it. Try and do it. If it's coming from a place of love, then I think it works. But hard. I also think getting yourself out of that situation. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying to somebody, listen, I am going to stop you there. I really like you, I've really enjoyed this conversation, but what you're offering, I'm really not interested in, because we do all get into those situations.
If they're being pushy, yeah.
If they're being pushy. Particularly if you think, you know, this is not somebody I want to build a friendship or relationship with, do yourself a favour and tell that person, you know, no, this isn't for me, and actually I wouldn't really feel comfortable sharing this with my network. So I'm just going to stop you there, I'm going to save your time, and, you know, I wish you all the best, but it's really not for me. And again, do yourself a favour, get that person to the no quicker, because they'll move on to the next person.
Stops wasting their time.
It stops wasting their time as well. There's ways of doing it.
Well, let's talk about the things that you should do to stand out online, because that's the point of this, isn't it? And I think these first couple go back to what would you do in person. I think we've forgotten online that these conventions work exactly the same, but we maybe don't do them. Smile, show people you're listening. You can't not do that in person. You wouldn't be looking at someone and then start, well, you might do. Some people do this, don't they? When they start talking, start looking at your phone. But so don't do that online. So show people that you're listening, and you do have to probably be a bit over-exaggerated, don't you? Like nodding, smiling, reacting. But I'll tell you what, that is a great way to stand out, because because people are slow on the uptake of there's a maturity scale, isn't there, as we're all learning to online network. If the majority of people in person smile and show they're listening, you're not going to gain an advantage by doing that. That's just the expected standard. Online, so many people don't do it that you'll immediately raise above the bulk of them by smiling, by nodding, by showing people that you're listening. And it isn't just the visible indicator. Ask questions, because people love that when you ask questions about them rather than appearing to be in a queue to just wait your time to speak.
You could have a bank of questions on a post-it note on your monitor. You know, we're all humans. We all have similar things that we're interested in, or you could have generic questions that are just icebreaker questions for conversations. If you find that awkward, then have that stuff ready, because it will just make life easier for you.
Yeah, definitely. Be clear in what you want. So again, this is about being concise, isn't it? This is my time to speak. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is who it's for. Please keep an eye out for me. That's it. That's it. Get good at that bit, because everyone's going to be great. I understand who that person is. I've got a sense of who they want to speak to. Now they're just going to talk to me as a person. And this came up. Can I sell at network? Of course you can. But that for me is selling. You're not going to sell to everyone. So just put it in the shop window, make it clear what you do, and then make it conversational.
Yeah, I talk about this all the time. I bang on about this, and I'm sure people get fed up with it, but being specific. And I know people like to broaden their horizons and they don't want to niche necessarily, but a meeting I was on the other day, a visitor came along. She was incredibly specific. She told us the company, and she told us the name and the position of the person she wanted to get an introduction to. Now, I clocked 4 people who I verified afterwards, went onto LinkedIn to see if they were connected to that person. It's a no-brainer, isn't it? You know, and I think one of them was, and messaged her to say, yes, I'll see if I can get you a connection. That's the reason to be specific. I can do something here and now for you. It will take me 30 seconds, and I might get you the result you're looking for. So I massively urge people, who is it? What is it that you want to gain from that situation? Definitely.
Help others and thank people who have helped you. This is very specific to networking, but particularly within ONLE, there's so many people that give each other free advice, support, all that stuff. Publicly thank them, because then they'll feel. There has been some quite sad instances, isn't there, where people have gone, oh, I really went out of my way to help that person. They never really acknowledged it. Again, I think that's the overwhelm of modern life. We probably didn't do that on purpose. But
we didn't, and I think also, particularly with us, with open category networking, it can be awkward sometimes if you've used a a web designer and there's 2 others in the room and you really like them, but you've just not picked them for whatever reason, it's hard to openly give that thanks, but you can do it outside of the meeting. I think that's the key. Make sure you're doing it somewhere.
Definitely. And then it's all about the follow-up, isn't it? So say, for example, you've followed what we're saying, you come to a networking event, you smile, you engage, you're precise, you ask how you can help people, so you've ticked all those boxes. You've burned brightly within that meeting as much as you can to stand out against a room of 20 people, 25 people. That flame won't stay ignited for very long if you don't follow up. So after the meeting, make sure at least half an hour. LinkedIn's the obvious one. If you prefer Instagram, that's fine. Not everyone uses that for business though, but I would certainly say go onto LinkedIn to enforce the good work that you've done. Be the person that connects with a message, not just hitting connect button because they won't remember you, and start the dialogue that way. If you meet 10 people at a networking event and comment and like on their latest post and send them a message on LinkedIn, they're going to remember you. So it's just keeping up the good work, and then that continues throughout the month, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I've been on a meeting this morning and 2 people thanked one person for the support that they gave both of those people on social media just by commenting and sharing and stuff. It means a lot. It means a lot to those people that do it. I think the other missed opportunity is, and I've said this a few times recently, so I need to be a little bit sparing when I say it, because otherwise everybody will do it and you won't stand out. But particularly over the summer when attendance is low at networking as a general thing, we get it, people are on holiday, it's fine. You are missing an opportunity, particularly within ONLE, if you're not reaching out to a couple of people that weren't there. Now, not to spam them with your marketing message, absolutely not, but we talked about this morning, so for some of the new members, they can see on the sheet who are members of that meeting. So as a new member, reach out and just say, oh, it was my first meeting, sorry I didn't see you, but I'd really love to arrange a one-to-one. Why wouldn't you do that? You know, there's value there for that member that wasn't at the meeting because you're thinking about them. You know, even if you're an established member and you've not been able to make it, who haven't you caught up with for a while?
Yeah.
So even if you're not at a meeting, you can still be making the networking work for you. So think about who wasn't there, and if relevant, definitely reach out, have a conversation with them.
And again, I think when you look at the percentages of people that are not doing it, I'd say the majority are not doing most of the things that we've listed out there.
Yeah.
So again, you are going to stand out a mile because the gap will close.
Yeah.
People will get better at it. 3-4 years down the line, you're going to need to be more advanced in the things that we're talking about. But for now, if you do that, you're going to be 90% ahead of 90% of the pack.
It'll give us time to think of more advanced tips too.
Better stuff.
Yeah.
God, you're going to have to get really elaborate. Cirque du Soleil in the background or something like that. Lego. I was glad you referenced it. I forgot we put that there.
There you go.
I hope people understand the connection that we
Well,
do London and New York networking.
maybe.
Oh, well, if not, there's some Lego. Right.
Be interesting to hear listeners' thoughts as well, though. What do they think is good for standing out? Is there anything else we've not covered?
Yeah, let us know. Okay, so it's that time to go around the network. Let's draw on some wisdom of the ONLE community. We were talking about, business growth. This was inspired by Sam Sharma's ONLE Talks. Barriers to growth. We asked the members, what are your main business growth barriers? We got some good answers, didn't we? Kick us off.
Yeah, so Jeanette Wong, making sure my calendar doesn't run me. I can totally hear where Janet's coming from on that one. I think there's lots of us talked about this month.
Yeah, I could have put lots of people there.
Yeah, definitely.
Similar sentiment. So, well, and Yvonne Onomore said, avoiding a situation where you're wearing too many hats and trying to balance your business requirements with your personal requirements. Again, I think there's a little microcosm of the challenge of running a business, barriers to growth. That was a nice little summary.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob Edmonds made a great point. One of his barriers is people being reluctant to spend money. And we've again talked about this. I think the media is dictating to us that it's brainwashing us that we've got no money, whether we have or not. We're hearing it all the time. So I think it does affect people's buying decisions. It really does. So when the media decides that there is money out there and we can go and spend it, I'm guessing that will show an upturn. But there are loads of businesses out there that are wanting to make a difference and stand out from the crowd. So yeah, it's making sure your message is right to capture.
Well, yeah, we've never really talked about money, have we? I mean, I think it's like you're saying, there isn't, if you operate from a position of abundance. People are spending money, but it's undeniable that when confidence is low, you know, everyone's spending less money, therefore there's less money to spend in every market. So it does make it tough, you know, the amount of people that we speak to, and we don't say this enough, as you know, we speak to so many people within the network. There's not really anyone that's going, yeah, it's easy at the moment. Everyone, even if their business is well positioned, good proposition, it is a struggle with the economy at the moment. So, you know, have faith, you know, do what you're good at. The money is out there, but don't be too disheartened.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
We got to finish with the sort of Zen master, haven't we? Tom Perkins. We always talk about Tom Perkins. So subscription, website, business. He also does SEO services now. We always talk about Tom because he's cracked it. You know, we talked about business growth and this race for 6 figures, and a lot of people are like, oh, that doesn't mean anything. We talked about why it does, but you know, there is a narrative, isn't there, that business is about growth at all costs. It's not. It's about building the business that's right for you. And Tom made a very conscious decision about, I don't want to run an agency. I want a business that means I can spend time with my wife and my kids, and you know, and he's so relaxed and lovely, isn't he? But he added a bit to this. So he said, I didn't want a massive business, so I streamlined and got people to do the bits that aren't cost effective for me to do. Because that's important. You can say, oh, I want to make it easier for myself, but you've got to put the time in to process that out and find how you plug the gaps, because these things still need doing. Right. He also said, it's important to reduce stress by knowing what clients not to take on.
Such a good
emphasis on the word not. You know the clients, don't you, that are going to be problematic and cost you the most time. Maturing as a business is learning to not have those clients.
Yeah.
It's quite a tough thing to do,
absolutely.
isn't it? So, yeah. Anything else on that?
Well, but some most common barriers, so not naming anyone in particular because it came up a lot, but time and prioritisation. I think lots of people are in that space, particularly over the summer when we want to get out in the garden or we want to spend time with the kids. Control, not wanting to let go. I could be on the top of that list, definitely. Being the only one in the business, you end up being, you know, somebody that has to do all of those things. But, you know, take a leaf out of Tom's book, get to a point where you can work out what you can start to give away. And it might just be small things to begin with. Speak to a VA and see what you can do.
Well, this was the point. You'd think when you talk about barriers for growth, I think this is where, as a, you know, the body politic kind of get a bit confused, and they spend all their time worrying about social media and marketing. But when you actually go, what are your real growth barriers? It never really came up. It was all about time management, prioritisation was the common denominator between all of them.
Which, to be fair, is quite heartening because you can do something about that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily easy. It makes a change in routine or change in the way you work, adjustments, things like that. But if that genuinely is a growth barrier, sort it out.
Well, this was Sam's point, though, wasn't it? You've either got to reach a point where you make enough money, where you can employ people to do some of the things for you because you can't make more time,
That's right.
Or you've got to build a business where your time is accounted for and you cover enough of what you need to do to get the result. Yeah. Don't get stuck caught between the two of them. That's why you be more Tom Perkins. You either be Tom Perkins and be the most content person, or you build a bigger business where you employ people next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Good discussion there.
Good conclusion.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody, welcome to the next edition of the ONLE Show. I'm very excited to be talking to Pierre today. Pierre, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Really happy to be here.
Good stuff, good stuff. And it wouldn't be right if we didn't embarrass you off of the bat, Pierre. I'm sure our listeners in here today will be absolutely thrilled to hear you for longer than the couple of minutes that you get to do your introduction. It's an ongoing joke within the network, isn't it, that we just love listening to you. So this is going to be very therapeutic for many of our members, I'm sure. So
I didn't know the French accent was having this impact.
It does. I think this should be one of your selling tactics, seriously.
Yeah, should think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Pierre, I'm just going to run through a quick bio about you, just to tell our viewers who you are if they don't know who you are. So, Pierre is a customer service expert who teaches businesses the value of retaining clients and how to improve business profitability by focusing on the lifetime value of each customer. His previous career saw him oversee customer operations for distinguished hotels, including the Landmark London and the Four Seasons, one of my favorites. I've got to say, the Four Seasons. So we'll hear about that a bit more in a minute. But that idea of customer retention, I think, is fascinating. I know you've talked about this in ONLE Talks, but for me, I think that's massively missed with small business owners. We look for the shiny, don't we? And we don't look at retention. So great that you're helping small business owners with that. So today, this conversation really is to find out a bit more about you. So my first question to you is, what sparked you? Why this business? Tell us a bit about your background.
Well, I've been working for more than 10 years in hospitality, and obviously I built my career in customer service, but in a very specific aspect of customer service, which is hospitality. And I think the day I realized that I wanted to start the business is the day I realized that customer service is not only something that is applicable to hospitality, but to every business. But in addition to that, is something crucial for all business success once you understand what it includes and how you can build a strategy and specific methods around your customers to make the best impact on your business. So once I saw this great opportunity in kind of applying my customer service knowledge to a more business perspective while still training employees on basics of customer service and customer care, that's what made me move forward with this idea that I started 3 years ago now.
3 years ago now, so that was my next question. So where would that have placed us? Just
beginning of COVID.
Pandemic? Yes. Okay. So that was the Kickstarter, was it, that you needed? Because the bad time for hospitality.
Yes. So, well, it's a little bit like when I talk to a lot of other people who started their own companies. Sometimes you need to have a bad situation or a different situation than the one you are in to kind of tell yourself, okay, that's the right moment. And COVID was the best time for me to do that because I had time to think of the ideas, build the brand, build the business, correct all the many mistakes I've made throughout the first year, and then start from there. So yes, I am a COVID-born business indeed.
COVID-born business, yeah, sure. Do you think when you launched this business, was this something that small business owners were really receptive to? Was it something they thought about, or was this quite a new kind of concept to them?
So I think that customer service is not niche in terms of the needs on the market, but it's very niche in terms of people helping with that. There's not many people offering this kind of services to help businesses to improve their customer experience, to have a better strategy around their customers, etc., etc. So at the beginning, I really had to think for what type of client it is, what type of problem I'm helping with, what solutions do I bring, and really understand that it's not about whether or not they need help, but whether or not they want help. So that's why now most of my clients, they're not doing bad in customer service. They could just be doing better, but they understand the importance of customer service, hence coming to me. Customers that are sometimes, businesses that are sometimes doing very badly in customer service, they would never be coming to me because they don't understand the importance and the impact it can have on a business in the long term. So yeah, I really focus on the people who want help more than on the businesses who need help.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be open to it. You've got to be open to seeing what you can do to change in that space, haven't you? So you've been very lucky, as we said, landmark, huge brand, Four Seasons, another big brand. I've got to ask you, did you have a favorite? Where was your favorite place to work when you were in the hospitality?
Definitely the Four Seasons in Paris. I mean, if I include the time where I was a student and I was working there as a casual waiter, plus the time I was working there as a full-time employee. I mean, I've been working for this brand for more than 6 years, and I've learned so much about customer service. A lot of the mindset I have, insights I share, and the strategy I shared with with my clients are from the Four Seasons. So yeah, no, definitely, it's been really a beautiful adventure there. And I will always keep beautiful souvenirs. My aim will be, one of my beautiful business accomplishment will be to one day come back there to provide customer service training to the new members or the interns or the young generation that want to learn more about customer service.
Absolutely. Well, forever networking, and this is an apt thing, I might have a contact that I can put you in touch with, because it's just dawned on me. We used to use the Four Seasons and we have a wonderful contact there. But I agree with you in terms of customer service. You've learnt from the best. So you come from a space of having experienced that, and to be able to adapt that to show small business owners how they can run that forward in their own space is huge. I've got up there somewhere the Four Seasons book about, you know, their culture and how they like to help people with their customer service, because it is impeccable. It's second to none. And when you hear about the things they put in place behind the scenes to make sure they look after their customers, it's great. So yeah, I'll make that connection. So let's think about you personally as well. You know, you're a business owner, but you are a person. So how do you balance the needs of your business with your personal well-being?
Well, so on that, I would like to mention one of the first one-to-one I had when I just started my business with someone back in France who is doing a bit the same than I do. And he said to me, I never feel like I'm working because I do something I like. And actually, I keep thinking of what he said because I have exactly the same feeling. So first of all, doing something that you love will help you on that. But obviously, you're still working, and it can still be overwhelming at times. So the first thing I do is just give myself time when I feel I need time. So like if there's a day I feel totally overwhelmed or tired and it's 3 p.m., as long as there's anything urgent, I may give myself this time I need. If there's a Saturday I wanted to do a bit of job to kind of catch up the delay I have, and I feel I want to rest, I will rest. So it's as well giving myself time when I need it, and realize that in order to make the business successful, I need to take care of myself as well, and not only of the business. The last thing I do is walking my dog daily.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know how many times I talked about my dog at ONLE. I have to say I wake up early, and I sometimes finish a little bit later because I have to walk him 2 hours. But that's the best thing it's been the best thing to me, because it really helped me to take a step back, to take a good break during the day. And funny enough, all my best business ideas, all the things I said to myself, I should definitely do that, is when I walk my dog. So I like to call him my best business partner, though he doesn't do much.
He's good at listening, though. He's really good at listening. And he's extremely cute, if I'm sure most people have seen him. But yeah, absolutely. So what do you do in that instance? Just as kind of a side question. So I'm kind of the same. James and I go for a walk, and that's when all of the ideas come. But I keep forgetting to take a notebook with me. Do you take a notebook? Do you record these things? How do you do that?
Yeah, I have my notes on my phone,
the
notes app on my phone, and I actually have a lot of notes. So actually, most of my notes, my daily to-do list will be on this. So yeah, I definitely take notes on this app, because otherwise, with my goldfish memory, I'll forget everything.
Yeah, I know. You're in good company there. Don't worry about that. So thinking about your business, you're 3 years old. What's your proudest business moment so far?
Actually, the first training I provided, it was pretty much at the beginning, and I still had a lot to improve on. There's a lot of things that were not going well, and I was very, very, very stressed. But it went very well, and so much that at the end I had a very good clapping from the audience when I didn't ask for it, and I felt really proud. And at that moment, I knew that the journey will still be long before before being able to be sustainable enough to generate business in the long term. I knew the journey would be very, very long, and there would be a lot of up and downs. But at that specific moment, I was really proud to say, all right, now I've really started, and I can already see that I make a great impact on people. And just making you feel so proud when you've been working so hard to get it launched, and very stressed with this first audience, being standing in front of them, and to see that you've been successful. So yeah, this first training and this specific moment when they clapped was definitely my proudest moment.
Definitely, in that relief and like relax.
100%. Yes.
Because I don't think people realize all of the stuff that goes on in the background to get to that point. It's like a crescendo, isn't it? It's like, I've done all of this months of work, I've fine-tuned it, I've got it there. Yeah. I'm a nervous wreck probably to begin with, because this is the first time I'm doing this thing, and then to finally been able to present it now, I can almost, I hear you on that one. Definitely, it's a great achievement, and you do that all the time now. I'm sure now you do it without too much of a thought. You're doing presentations all the time, aren't you? So yeah.
Really.
Absolutely brilliant, brilliant. So hindsight is a wonderful thing. What would you wish you knew when you launched your business?
To understand that starting a business is not a race but a marathon. You have to you really have to think of the longer journey. And actually the second feeling I had after that specific training, when I was very proud the day after when I woke up. Though I was really proud the day before, I invited, I think, my partner to restaurant to celebrate it, etc. I woke up the day after and I was like, okay, what now? Because it's not one client that's going to make my business successful. So really understand that it's a very long journey, and that you need to not only focus on those one first clients, but what you need to put in place in order to generate a long-term business, which is funny enough, a lot that I help my clients with now in terms of customer retention. And yeah, I think as well the approach to networking, that it's really about making those long-term relationships and understanding that it's a long journey as well.
Absolutely.
And that you should not be thinking short-term sales, but you should really see the bigger picture. Because of that, the first year I've been impatient, or doing things too quickly, or making too quick conclusions because of that. So yeah.
So we all do that. Many of us do that. And I think that leads me nicely into the next question. So what would you say has been your biggest networking win so far?
I would say I think networking is a lot about etiquette, about approach, about vision you have around networking to build those connections. But once you have this vision and this mindset and this approach with people, you actually apply it out of your networking communities. And I now get in touch with people I used to work with at the Four Seasons 10 years ago, or at other places that have started their own business as well. And I start to just contact them to have a one-to-one, and there's beautiful opportunities of partnership collaboration that was born from it. So that's my biggest networking win, is to kind of apply the approach and vision I have to networking, and that I apply to the networking community I'm a member of, out of those community with other people I know and I used to work with in the past.
I think you're a model member of ONLE. I'm sure you are with the other networks that you were a part of as well. And I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot about patience, expectation, setting the scene. It is a long-term thing, networking. If you do it correctly, you will build those foundations, you'll build those relationships, you'll deepen those connections, and then over time, that's when the opportunities come. So I absolutely hear you on that one. So final question, you've kind of answered this already, but just elaborate a little bit more. Early bird or night owl?
Well, I love morning. So I will say naturally early bird. However, I am very, very efficient when I work in the evening, which frustrates me a little bit. So what I try to do is when I have dinner, I try to not go back to my desk because I will be so efficient and I will be getting so much work done. So I love waking up early. I love to work in the morning with a nice coffee. But I'm so efficient in the evening. So sometimes if I'm a bit behind somewhere, I'll be like, all right, you know what? I'm going to spend a bit of the evening to focus on that because I'll know I'll be very good at it, at getting job done. So I'll say by choice morning, but in terms of skills, evening.
Oh, that's a tough one to juggle because you could end up just working all day.
Well, no, because in the middle of the day, I'm not that good maybe. So it's more for meetings, for training, and but not like proper work. Yeah,
it's down work. Okay. Well, Pierre, thank you so much. It's good to get to know you better as a person and as a business owner. And I would highly recommend ONLE members or visitors that are listening to this to reach out to you because you make an awful lot of sense. And it is definitely something that we should all consider within our business, our customer service and our retention, particularly of customers. So thank you. Thank you for chatting with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
You are very welcome. And thank you all for listening.
So there you go. This has been the ONLE Networking Show. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for watching or listening. Please like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you again next month.